Hello everyone, this is Mike. Welcome to session 19 of our Cognos report training series. Today we're going to discuss storage node performance. So let's go in. I'm going to access my content area and go over to our catalog reports and get my template. So I'm going to get my look and feel report template. That's under the reporting catalog in our sandbox. It's right in the very first folder. So you have a lot of test reports here that I work with, but right here, these are the two things that I'm really interested in. The look and feel report template with charts. Let's edit that, okay, and bring it up. And a couple things I want to do. I just want to focus on, okay, what are we going to build here and what is it going to contain? What is the actual outcomes that we want to produce for our customer and solve a specific business problem or multiple business problems. So right now I want to get a performance query around storage nodes and show trending on IOPS, latency, and utilization. And then I want to get into looking at some of the back end things like cache hit ratio, disk reads replaced. I want to look at headroom, which I think is extraordinarily important. And I also want to calculate some ratios. And I think that's a good start. We're going to use this as a segue into some other neat reports, but this one is kind of all encompassing for storage nodes and would highlight the things customers are actually really interested in to solve specific problems that might arise. So let's do it. Let's go into our report. And first I want to build my query, and then we'll select the widgets that we're going to display the data on after we finish that process. All right, so let's go to pass through after selecting our SQL object, and then click on performance this time. All right, this is going to be called node performance trends. All right, we'll start there. We will have another node performance query when we get into summaries. But right now I'm just focusing on the trends, build the charts so you get a really good feel for how we can put together this type of performance report inside of our Cognos engine. All right, so we're going to go in here and we're going to start our query off, of course, with a select and then add the from clause. Okay, and primarily I'm going to pick, and again, we can get this from our documentation. And again, I keep repeating this because I think it's worth repeating. Pull up your schema. Always have that at the ready. Okay, it's a good best practice to go into your schema from time to time in case you forget some sort of syntax or relationships that may be more obscure. All right, so in this case, we're going to go down to performance and we're going to grab storage node hourly. So that would be right here. So here is our storage node hourly. Supports time TK, date TK, storage node TK, and a tier as well. We won't get into tiers yet, hopefully down the road. But at this point, we're only interested in these foreign keys and those specific dimension tables that support this hourly fact. All right. The metrics we're interested in, of course, IOPS, latency, utilization, cache hit, disk reads replaced. We also have utilization max. We could add that as well. And I think that's a good start. We'll continue to build it out. Let's just get the base metrics in there, and I'll show you some tricks. Oh, throughput I want to, total throughput. And I'll show you some tricks that you can use to increase the value of the information that's being displayed. So let's do that. Keep your schema readily available in case you need it. And then we'll start off with the from clause. Always. All right, so I'm not going to type. I'm just going to paste from a query I already wrote. It's storage node hourly performance fact SNHPF. Okay, we're going to grab date dimension. We're going to join it. Primary key obviously is TK. Foreign key date TK, and that would be visible again in your schema. Okay, right here, date TK. All right, and then we're not going to do any types of filters or constraints. We're going to leave that as is, and then we're going to join the time dimension. The difference between the two, date and time is actually going to give you 24 data points per day, whereas the date dimension gives you just 1 day, right? So we want those data points to show some granularity in our charts when we measure performance. So I'm going to add that in there. Foreign key is time TK, primary key TDTK. All right, using the proper naming conventions, and we can get on to the next one. So now I'm going to add the storage node dimension. Need that, definitely. Okay, storage node dimension SND. Primary key is storage node TK. Foreign key is TK, of course. And then we're going to add the storage dimension. Okay, we need the storage dimension. I want to constrain this just like I did in previous sessions. I want to remove storage grid by using my SD family not like storage grid. Okay, that's our best practice. Anytime we want to constrain data, this is the sequence we would use. All right. Next up, I'm going to add my select fields. All right. Obviously, the first two are very, very important. I'm going to add the storage name and model. Right. And then the other thing I want to add, and I'm going to just kind of say this is temporary, but I am going to add the version, which is the microcode version. Right. And we'll just call it microcode. Oh no, actually we can just call it version. Let's call it version, but it's going to show you something that I really not a fan of, but I want to put it in there so I can segue into a new statement or function actually that will help you manipulate objects any way, shape, or form you desire. And I think it's important. I do it a lot. If you see data in a specific field that you think is too long or too verbose or it just doesn't pinpoint exactly what you're looking for, I'm going to add some good functionality in here to allow you to extract strings from specific columns of data. All right, so bear with me. I'm going to show you the long version first, and then we'll get on to those types of functions. Now, next up, I'm going to grab my performance metrics. They're all going to kind of look like this. All right, and I will speed it up by pasting them all. But you have the average. I'm aggregating the average of total IOPS, okay, from my storage node hourly performance fact, and then I'm just calling it total IOPS. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing for peak IOPS, and I'm going to grab latency, throughput, cache ratio, cache hit. I'm going to get the CPU percent and the peak CPU percent. All right, so let's just take a look at those, and let me just do it all one fell swoop here. And here you go. So here is your total IOPS with total IOPS max. That's my peak IOPS. Latency, that's response time. In throughput, I actually just said MB per second. It's actually throughput. Okay, and I would call it MB per second like that. All right, and that's a little bit easier to read. We have disk reads replaced and cache hit ratio. Cache hit ratio would actually disk reads replaced is the result of your cache working properly, right? This is what you save in IOPS, so you're not reading directly from the disk, you're reading from cache. And that's why I like these two metrics together, because they really tell me what's going on inside the node. And in this case, if you have a really consistent cache hit, then it's using flash cache, flash pools, or something of that nature to increase performance of the delivery of data to your end users. And I think that's a good thing. And here is the utilization. This is CPU utilization. It's a combination of things, Waffle X, and it's CPU, obviously, and some other things that I'll talk about momentarily. But CPU utilization is quite robust. It does allow us to see what's happening in each node and the partners of the cluster or whatever they may be. We can actually determine where the heavy loads are and whether or not they're failover capable. So this is good stuff, and we're going to add the headroom value too as well, which will help you understand how it's calculated. However, I will state the caveat that we do have a headroom metric in the web UI. When you go to queries, you go to Query Explorer, and then you add a new metric query around aggregate headroom, you'll see a value. I do not have the optimal point calculation in the data warehouse, so we actually have to do that ourselves. All right, and I'll show you how to do it. However, a lot of times end users want that optimal point calculation, so the best bet is to use a dashboard in the web UI to address that issue. However, the trends here in the reporting engine are a little bit more robust, and you can do a lot more from a filtering perspective, comparison perspective, delivery perspective. In other words, if I want to send PDFs or Excel spreadsheets with this data to an end user, I can do it in reporting. I can't do that in the web UI. So it makes a big difference. All right, so both have their strengths, okay, but and weaknesses, of course. But in this case, I want to use the reporting for this type of a use case. Okay, so let's continue on. Let's make sure we have everything in here completely. I want to group, and again, this is a trending report, so I want to group by S&D name, and I want to also group by date dimension. All right, so let's add that as well. I haven't done that yet, actually. I'm going to group by date dimension. Let's add those two things here, and that should round us up. All right, so there you go. We have our date time. That's our time dimension, and our full date is our date dimension, and we want to add that to our chart when we're ready to go. Right, we're going to add both of these to the chart, and you're going to see what the result is, and it works very well. All right, so we're going to group by TD, hour, date, time, and we're going to group by full date. All right, let's validate, make sure everything's good. Yes, validation successful. So we're going to start here. We have our query. Take a screenshot if you want. Here, let me bring it on. Take a screenshot. I would want you to type this into your own instance, okay, and test it out. And again, this is the only way you learn is by doing, right? So you want to make sure that you're typing all this stuff out. And that's why I'm leaving this on the screen so you can take the screenshot, type it in, understand how the query works. You will make mistakes. I always do. Syntax errors, fat fingering, it always happens. So just, be patient, learn how the query functions, how it is structured, and how it's applied, and I think that'll help you a lot when you start building reports in the future. All right, so let's click OK. Next up, I want to go to my template, and all I want here is a line chart and obviously a list down the bottom. So I'm going to get rid of everything else. So just cut these out. Don't delete them, just cut them. Cut them, leaves intact the data from behind, all right, so from the back end. So put that there. And I'm going to do several line charts here because I want different types of performance to show up. All right, let's kill that. Kill this. All right, and just leave the structure, the template structure, which is nothing more than a table, intact, so I can leverage it. All right, and then just go over here, cut out this, and you can see you got the rows in here, so that's good. Leave the list, get rid of the data in the list. Just cut it. Okay, very nice. And this gives you the makings of your report. All right, now just actually take out everything. Just leave these blank. The structure of the charts will remain intact. Okay, so I'm going to call this CPU utilization. And then the description, and use the description, it's very important. You're going to call it 14 days of hourly averages. All right, and one thing I might want to do is just you create one chart with everything in it, and then you can just change it. So right now I'm going to change the query over here in properties to node performance trends, and then grab all my metrics. This will speed up the creation of the report too. All right, let me just so you pull this down so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, there we go. That's better. All right, so in here I want to grab CPU utilization, which is CPU percent. Drop that right in there. And then I want the date and the time object. All right, so grab date and then time and then grab date. You're going to get the parallel bar underneath time. Drop it in. Okay, change the member caption to a data. Remember we did this in previous sessions where when we were building charts. Don't forget to change the source type from member caption to date item, or you will not be able to format it. All right, then it'll look really messy and not recommended. So I'm going to go into time and date. Now let's just leave it blank until we run the report. All right. So lastly, you want to make sure you aggregate the data. So here, this is going to be just average. All right, and we want to make sure that you change the data format. This is going to be CPU, so it's basically percent, but again, it's not a decimal. All right, this is one of the queries that returns a whole number for percentages. So what you want to do is something like this. You put in the formatting in the data format for number, and then open a quote, a percent, and close the quote, and that'll continue to refer to this as a whole number. If you don't do it this way, it's going to convert it to a percent and not show the right number. All right. So click OK, and that gives you the right value, at least on your y-axis. Okay, and then over here you can do the same thing. Go to number, and then just change the pattern. Okay, and then percent in quotes. Lastly, you want to sort the date and time. Do both. Just click on time. Default is ascending order, of course. Right? You want the first in and then last out. All right, here we go. So this one is going to be, oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm in the wrong thing. Not yet. I don't want to do formatting yet. I want to do sorting. So down here is date. So they're both sorted properly. It should actually work nicely. I don't care about the header yet. I'll change those momentarily as well. Let's run the report, see what we get. Performance reports around nodes are usually pretty quick. All right, so there you go. There's the result. Shows the CPU percent. I'm not crazy about this type of line chart, so you can change it, and I'll definitely do that. We'll experiment with it a little bit. This one does show the data points, though. It's pretty cool. All right, it shows you the date and time. Now, if you don't see anything show up, from a labeling perspective, it's probably disabled or it's just not big enough. Okay, so a lot of times you just want to change the chart, right? And we're going to do that. Okay, so what happened was I actually had these backwards, so you want to make sure date is first, then time is the subordinate, and this will work perfectly once we get it to the right point. So you're going to get this. It's a little messy, but we will clean it up, and it'll look a lot better once I'm done. But what you have to do to make this look professional is you need to change the format of the date and time. All right, so we'll start with date, and we're going to place month, and day in there, and then repeat that for the time and date. All right, so you select time and date and do the same thing, day. You have to do this, and then it will work perfectly. So when you run it, you're going to get the properly formatted date, and it will look a lot better. Okay, and that's what I'm shooting for right there. So this is showing you the metrics hourly, but again, just focusing on the last 14 days of data, and it seems to work well. All right, so that's the best practice around setting up the date portion of the x-axis of the chart. All right, especially when you're dealing with time series data and both date and time objects, you definitely need that. It'll work much better if you do it this way. All right, so that's the best practice. Now there are other ways to do it. Doesn't look as good. I like this way better. All right, so your choice. You can do anything you want with it, but I recommend doing it this way. I think the customers like this the best. All right, so that's your first chart. Now all I have to do now is just copy this, just Control C at the three dots of the white box, which is basically a container, and then go over to the right hand side, paste in the result, and then change CPU percent. All right, just cut that out. Don't delete it. Cut it out, and then grab peak CPU. And this time, this is maximum. Right, so you have to aggregate it. So click on maximum, and we can change the colors and the structure and all, like I mentioned earlier. But let's start it off like this, and I think it's good. So this is the peak. All right. Now, a lot of times you see how you're getting 120%. Well, you're not going to get 120% in these storage systems. So what you want to do is you can go to your axis range and change it from manual, like set it to 1, which is 100%, or 100, I think you'd have to do. And then the minimum is 0, and then click OK. And now it will be 100%. That way you never go over it. So there you go. It's 100%. So you go to the, like I said, axis range right here by selecting the y-axis. Go over to your properties, change it. The maximum value here is a whole number. A lot of the performance metrics we use in other cases are not whole numbers, but in performance, a lot of them are whole numbers. Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind when you're working with this. Again, this grew over several years. I mean, we started off with a small subset in the data warehouse, and it just continued to grow. So you might see disparate data types in certain circumstances, only because we started off with a baseline and then just continue to grow outward, and that's why they changed a little bit. So that's the reasoning. Anyways, that gives you at least the first two charts, okay, of this this specific report. Now what I want to do is I want to stop there and then continue on in the next session, which will be session 2 of our node performance reporting, and we will continue that process of building out that robust report with those additional features I mentioned, headroom, and some other nice things that we'll add. And I think it will give you a lot of value. So let's do that. We're going to split the session up. I'm at 20 minutes, and I like to stop around this time and then just build a new session. So that's what we'll do. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one.